speech. Have you guys heard or played tennis before? By show of hands, how many have heard? Play? Oh, good. So, what you didn't know, I bet, was, did you know that French monks in the 11th century first used human flesh to play tennis and substitute for this object? Yes, they used their hands to play instead of this tennis racket. Tennis racket is an important part to the culture of tennis players and the tennis culture in itself. This is a key item to me because I use it every weekend to play with my friends when we have free time. There are a lot of different parts to a tennis racket, such as the head, the length, the weight and balance, and even the strings. The head, how big the head size is determines how much power and control that the tennis racket has. The tennis racket has, the bigger the head size, the more power, but it would lose control. And the smaller the head, the more control that the tennis racket would have. Also, the length is also a factor that would determine how good a tennis racket is. The longer a tennis racket, the lighter it is, and the more reach it would have. And the shorter it is, it's just standard, and almost everyone always uses a standard short racket. Weight and balance is another big factor. The heavier the racket is, the less there would be more power. The stability would be better, and there would be less shock. While a lighter racket would have more shock and less power, but you would be able to swing it faster. So people usually get lighter rackets if they don't need the power for it to be heavier because they can compensate with their own. Most tennis players usually use the continental grip. Continental grip is it's the standard grip where you hold the racket and your knuckles are facing the same side as a face, and that's just the standard. But there is actually no correct way of using a tennis racket. You can use it any way you want as long as it feels comfortable. How I identify with the tennis racket. I first learned about tennis from my cousins that told me to watch this Japanese cartoon called The Prince of Tennis. In The Prince of Tennis, they showed these Japanese middle schoolers, and they were playing tennis, but their tennis was really flashy. They had all these flashy moves where the balls, it would hit with curve towards people's face and hit them in the face and stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought it was possible in real life, but it's not. And I enjoy playing with my friends on weekends. So after a while, I just started liking to play it. In high school, I started during freshman year to play with my friends, but then I didn't try out for my tennis team because I didn't like competition, and I didn't want to have the pressure of failing my school and not doing well in tournaments and it also made me stressed out. Tennis is a part of my life now because without tennis, I wouldn't be as healthy and I wouldn't be enjoying myself with my friends. I'd probably just stick in my room all day. Good tennis, and you play with a good tennis racket. If you're using a comfortable tennis racket, the tennis racket would feel like it's an extension of your arm. You won't even notice you're holding the racket, and that's where every tennis player wants to be. That's when you know that the racket is right for you. Another thing tennis does for me is it relieves stress. The last time I relieved my stress by playing tennis was when I was at home, and then my parents blamed me for something I didn't do, so I called up one of my friends and asked him if he could play tennis with me, and he said sure, and then we'd go to a park, start playing tennis, and every time we would play, every time I'd hit the ball, I'd let out a battle cry, and for some reason, every time you yell when you're hitting, it just makes you feel better. And yeah, so today taught you guys what the tennis racket does for a tennis player, talked about some of its culture, and next time someone asks you about what a tennis racket is, or you would be able to strike up a conversation with them, and you'll be able to know, and you won't feel left out. Thank you.